Every year Apple release a phone in the hopes to set a new standard on what a flagship phone should be. However, this year I think OPPO has them beat with the Find X9 Pro. So I'm Almir, aka Mrhtech. On this channel we make tech simple, and if it is your first time here, a like and a subscribe would go a very long way. Now, I have been using the Find X9 Pro for just around 2 weeks now. I did make a previous video, if you had seen it, where I did show you camera video samples and photo samples of what the phone is actually capable of. Back then, I couldn't talk a lot about the device because it wasn't released, so I did ask people to leave questions, which I will be answering at the end of this video. So if you are interested in that, make sure to stick it through till the end. Now, I'll leave some chapters on the video, or at least I'll try to, where you can skip to certain sections. However, I would recommend watching the whole video. Helps the video out, helps me out, and it will help you out so you don't actually miss anything. When it comes to specs, it's nice to actually know that they're using the latest and greatest technology, but what really matters is the actual experience you get with the device. So let's talk about it. I know what you're thinking. I was thinking the exact same thing. It's very Apple-esque, and that doesn't just translate to the design of the phone, but actually the internals as well, which we will talk about later on. And it's not a bad thing. With them moving the camera section from the middle to the top left-hand corner, it kind of reminds me of an iPhone 16 Pro, just a larger version with a larger camera housing. Very comfortable to hold, probably due to them flat edges going all the way around. The back colors, this one is a titanium. They also have a silky white one, which both have this matte finish that doesn't show fingerprints very easily, which I do really like. We've got this SnapKey, which is capable of doing a couple different things depending on what you assign it to do. You can have it toggle the flashlight, assign sound profiles, activate the translation, start voice recorder, taking screenshots, various different things similar to Apple's action button. And then speaking of Apple, on the other side we've got this camera control, quick button that works with the camera. So you can double tap to open the camera, you can slide your finger across to start zooming in and out, press to take a photo, hold down for burst photos. Also you get IP66, IP68 and IP69 rating, which is the first time I think for me personally I've seen a triple rated phone. What that basically means is, as well as the whole waterproof and resistant stuff normal phones can do, this one is actually resistant to high pressure water jets. Now I don't know what kind of situation I would be in where I would need that kind of protection for my phone, but it's probably one of them situations where I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So on the front we've got this new generation display, which honestly looks really good. It's a 6.78 inch 120Hz LTPO OLED display, 1800 nits of brightness normally, and it goes up to 3600 nits in peak brightness, and that's brighter than most flagships, and it's very good for outdoor use. We've got ultra thin bezels. It really gives for that edge-to-edge experience when you're using the phone. Perfect for if you're watching something, playing games, or just using the camera to take photos and videos. We have a 50 megapixel upgraded selfie camera, which has autofocus, and it's used for the face unlock, which honestly works pretty well. I haven't been needing to use the fingerprint sensor as often. And then when it does come to the fingerprint sensor underneath the display, it's a 3D ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, which is pretty good for a couple different reasons. A, it's super fast, like insanely fast. B, even if your finger's wet, it will still register. And C, it doesn't require the screen to brighten up the whole sky in order to just read my fingerprint, which is something you can really appreciate when you're in a dark environment. It's actually one of the first devices to use Mrhtech's latest Dimensity 9500 chip, 16GB of LPDDR5X RAM, and 512GB of UFS 4.1. Plenty of fast storage for your photos, videos, and whatever other shenanigans you're getting up to on your device. It's actually quite impressive they've managed to slot in a 7500 mAh silicon carbon battery, albeit, but still such a large capacity battery in this kind of frame phone, while also keeping the SIM card tray, something Apple had such trouble doing. Now, as well as having that large battery, OPPO have promised you get 80% of the charging capacity even after 5 years, which is a funny one because even at 7500 milliamps, even if you have 80% after 5 years, you'll still probably have more battery than some of the new phones coming out. And then also with the battery, you don't have to worry about charging. You get super fast, super VOOC charging. So 80 watts wired, 50 watts wireless charging, and you get 10 watts reverse wireless charging, which I actually did have to test on the recent trip to Amsterdam to charge my iPhone, which is a funny situation. And another thing you get is with compatible third-party PD chargers, you also get up to 55 watts of charging. So even if you're a super heavy user, it's a 1-day minimum phone, and just general usage, easily spend a weekend without having to charge this thing. And now for the main attraction, the cameras on the back. You might have noticed some of the photos I took in the previous video. I'll show you some on screen in this video as well. So on the back, we've got an Ultra XDR main camera co-developed with Sony. It's a 50 megapixel, 23mm main camera with LYT 828 sensor. It's a 1/1.28 inch sensor with f1.5 aperture and optical image stabilization. For the ultra wide, it's also a 50 megapixel, 15mm ultra wide camera, ISOCELL JN5, and it's a 1/2.75 inch sensor at f2.0 with autofocus. For the actual periscope camera, which is quite impressive, they managed to slot in a 200 megapixel camera that's at 70mm. It's an ISOCELL HP5. It's a 1/1.56 inch sensor at f2.1 with optical image stabilization. And the images you're able to get from this 200 megapixel camera are absolutely insane. You get crispy images even at a large distance. And then we have a camera that's not very visible on the back, but it's a true color camera that its main purpose is just to get the most accurate color representation you can possibly get in your photos. It's a great addition, and you can really see that it works well with the actual camera system. Now with the main camera, it takes 50 megapixel pictures by default, but it does drop some photos to 25 or 12 megapixel depending on the lighting conditions, just to get you the best possible picture you can get at that time. For the telephoto, we've got a 3x optical zoom. You can get 13.2 lossless zoom, and you can go all the way up to 120x zoom, which is kind of a mixed bag because sometimes you can get great results, sometimes things can turn out a bit funky. OPPO actually sell this telephoto converter kit they made with Hasselblad, which clips onto the back of the Find X9 Pro, just like that, along with the case and the camera attachment, and then you're able to extend that zoom between you and the subject even further. Now, from what I've tested, the results are amazing, especially at that 10x. Once you start getting 20x, 40x and further, it's a combination of hybrid and AI optimization, so the results can vary, sometimes very good, sometimes quite funky. If you're someone that goes to concerts, events, and you're quite far away from subject at times, having something like this you can put in your pocket and get that optical level of zoom is going to be very beneficial, as sometimes at them events, you're not actually allowed to take dedicated cameras with interchangeable lenses. So bringing this, hiding it in your pocket, will give you an edge above other people, and you should walk out with some of the best footage out of everyone. When it comes to the camera modes on this thing, there is a large amount of stuff to go through, and I'm actually debating whether to do a dedicated camera video, so let me know in the comments box below if you want a video just me going through the different camera settings and maybe even comparing it to the iPhone 17 Pro when it comes to picture quality, video quality and stuff like that. Some of the camera modes, just to mention a few, is the 200 megapixel high res mode using the telephoto, so you can get really high detailed shots. It does take a couple seconds to take the actual photo, so it may not be best for moving objects, but I think it's more in place to have for landscape photos and stuff like that, stuff where things aren't really moving. That way you can get the best possible photo. And then you've got Hasselblad X-Pan shot, which is my first time experiencing it. Gives you a 65 by 24 panoramic image, and it's really good because usually I'm used to taking panoramic images and having to move the phone and collage the photos later on. With this, it takes it in one great photo. All the cameras front and back are capable of doing 4K 60 in Dolby Vision HDR, and then the main camera and the telephoto camera are also capable of doing 4K 120 in Dolby Vision HDR, which gives for some really nice slow motion. And for those of you asking, yes, you can do raw photos and you can do log video footage, just for that flexibility in color grading later on. And ColorOS 16, it honestly reminds me so much of iOS 26 in a good way. You get that Apple-esque feel, but you also get that customization level of Android devices. It's got a new rendering engine, so it makes animations and transitions super smooth, renders everything at once, so everything feels super fast and fluid. All the touches and gestures just look really natural, and especially when you're closing apps, opening apps, everything just feels really rapid. Now you can do various things like resize folders and icons freely on the home screen. You can have them tall, wide, large, whatever you want. You can even add quick shortcuts to enlarged app icons like the camera mode or YouTube, which is something I haven't seen anyone do before. Now on the top, just like every device it seems these days, it is kind of a copy of Dynamic Island. We've got Aqua Dynamics, which gives us live feedback of stuff like music we're listening to, deliveries or sports scores without having to actually open up the app to view it. And then we've got stuff on the front like full screen, always on display. You've got motion wallpapers, depth effects, widgets, all of that good stuff. Now, something OPPO have done with ColorOS 16, which I think a lot of companies out there should do and is quite underestimated, is cross-device compatibility. The OPPO allows you to connect to a Windows device, or more specifically for my purpose, a Mac device. I can send files using the OConnect app straight to my Mac in full resolution and full video quality without having to actually connect it with a cable, which is a nice little touch. I do make quite a few remarks when it comes to the OPPO Find X9 of copying Apple, but honestly it's all in a good way, whether it be the buttons or the system OS, stuff like that, because oftentimes Apple users get stuck in this ecosystem, and even if you want to move over to Android and try it out, it becomes very difficult. But now with companies like OPPO making it as close to iPhone as you can, it's honestly the best time ever to try and switch over to an Android device, and the OPPO Find X9 Pro or the Find X9 may be one of the best devices to try at this minute. You get that cross-platform or cross-device connectivity, so you can still communicate with your Mac and Windows devices while trying an Android device instead of having an iPhone. So now's probably the best time to switch if you're thinking of ever switching from Apple to Android. And now we're here at the Q&A section. I've got all the questions on my iPhone here, so I'm going to read the question and then I'm going to answer it for you directly on the camera. So, no 8K recording and no match to Vivo X300 Pro. You don't get 8K video recording, but honestly, in my opinion, 8K video recording is still kind of gimmicky. Yes, you might get very crispy footage, but trying to use that, and often it comes with no stabilization. So I'd rather have 4K, 60, 30, 120, and have it stabilized and very good than having the option to shoot 8K, because I don't think many people would do that anyway. Maximum zoom video only 18 times. Yes, when you're actually recording video, you can only zoom up to 18x. Does it allow raw photos in full resolution? It's an important feature for me. So kind of yes and no. And why I say this is if you go into the master mode in camera, you get options for shooting different kinds of photos if you want JPEG or RAW Max. If you go in RAW, it's going to generally prioritize, still give you a raw picture, but it's going to prioritize the storage size of that picture to not take up too much storage. If you go in RAW Max, it generally gives you the best possible outcome with the most amount of data. And yes, it is going to take up the most amount of storage. But what I found is if you're trying to take 200 megapixels with the RAW Max, you won't get a 200 megapixel file. I think it generally defaults to 50 megapixel. But if you're using any of the other lenses and you want to take 50 megapixel photos using the RAW Max feature, you will get 50 megapixel raw photos that you're able to edit later on in whatever editor you use. Can we shoot 6x portrait? I think portrait mode is limited to 3.2x or something like that, so you can't go further than that in portrait mode. Of course, you can do 6x picture and treat it as portrait mode, but in a dedicated portrait category of the actual camera, I think the max is around 3.2x. Is this photo kit compatible with non-pro version? The photo kit with the Tele-Converter is only compatible with the pro version of the device. Unfortunately, they didn't make it compatible with the non-pro version. Hello, no 10 or 12x without the converter? Question mark. On the Find X8 Pro, if you press on X6 several times, you have different focals. So regarding the 10 or 12x without the converter, you can go all the way up to, I think it's 200x, but something you're not going to get is optical quality. And regarding the X6, so you've got 6 times zoom, which is the hybrid zoom. If you tap it again, it will take you to the 13.2 lossless zoom, and it just switches between them two modes. If you want to go to different focal lengths, you just have to swipe up to whatever one you want to go to. But generally, they're the two, if you're tapping on it, that it's going to switch between. Hope that answered your question. Do you have a video where we can see all the camera modes and settings? Let me know in the comments box below. I think I mentioned it earlier on in the video. If you want a dedicated video just on the camera system, going through all the different modes, showing you photo quality, video quality, both log and raw, and how it looks after you edit both of them. So let me know in the comments box below. If there is enough interest, I'll probably make one of them, and I'll include some comparisons to the iPhone 17 Pro, which I think is a phone a lot of people are trying to compare it to. Thanks for sharing. Are you happy with its better performance? And what do you think overall about the phone? Is it worth buying? Is it worth buying? I mean, the price tag is pretty high. I think it's 1,299 euros here in Europe, which is slightly a bit less than an iPhone. Definitely a great device if you're an Android user. I can definitely see being one of the best devices of the year so far. And when it comes to battery performance, like I mentioned, the battery is no worries whatsoever. Even if you're a high-end user, you'll easily get a day's usage and just a normal user, you'll probably get a weekend or even 3-day usage without having to charge. But I wouldn't worry about that too much, because even with the battery you get that super fast charging. So if you do buy the power adapter separately, or if you've got a third-party PD charger that will charge it at 55 watts, then you'll definitely get super fast charging, so you won't have to worry about how long the battery lasts too much. Do the camera accessory come with the phone, or are they additional purchases? Unfortunately, the camera accessories, as far as I'm aware, are additional purchases, including the case, the Tele-Converter, and all the other stuff like that. I think you can buy the whole kit together, but I'm not sure how much it is. I think when I checked, it was around 350 euros. So bear that in mind. It's not something you get with it. Some carriers out there or some shops may give you gifts when you're ordering the phone, but I don't think anyone's going to give you the whole Tele-Converter kit. So my overall thoughts of the Find X9 Pro these last 2 weeks of using it. Honestly, there's not much negative I can say about the device. The only negative thing I can think of is it's not an iPhone. If Apple made this phone right here and called it the iPhone 17 Pro and released it, last month, people would be going crazy for it. The camera quality on there, both video and photo, not that the iPhone is bad, but honestly, the camera quality you get is really good. And if there was ever a phone for me to switch from Apple to Android, the Find X9 Pro would probably be the phone that comes the closest of making me want to switch. Am I going to switch? Probably not. But I'm probably going to keep this just to use the camera, because it is that good in my opinion. So if you've got any questions, let me know in the comments box below. I'll be sure to answer anything I can. If you haven't yet, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it with friends and family. And I appreciate you watching. As always, I'll catch you on the next one.